Hello and welcome back. Let's move on to do some more structure on the legs. So let's go from top down. Okay. So first of all, the muscles around this area. If you look for the axis, it's somewhere around here, right? And you can draw the muscle goes from that tip and it goes all the way down, wrap around the leg. Okay. And keep going down all the way down, and then connect it to and basically wrapping around also the knee and connect it somewhere here. Okay, right. So this muscle is the longest muscle on the human body. It's called sartorius. Okay. All right, but again, name is not important. You know there's something here, and you just remember the shape. But oftentimes we don't see this, and we don't see this that much at all. But you can also use that as a very important landmark, because anything beyond this line over here is going to be the primary mass of the leg. Internally, you have muscle going this way, right? And those muscles are called iliopsoas and pectineus, whatever. Right? That's some of the muscles over here, but I just draw those out because who cares, right? I don't really think that those has to be like really defined one by one, because you have other things around them, and I'm just gonna make them nice and smooth, right, eventually after drawing those guys out. All right. So moving on to of course, that big volume here, you're actually having three strands of muscle. One is like a really long diamond, another one is something like a drop of water on the side, another one is a smaller one over here. Again, unless you really develop the muscles on the leg, those three big structures will not be visible at all. So you just, one of the things I would at least try to do if I really want to show some muscle structure is this one on the inside. Sometimes this one is more visible than the others. Okay, so a little bit rounded bulge over here should be fun for me. Okay. All right, look at some anatomy book and you see what what I'm saying here. Okay, moving on down to the knee. Okay, so the knee, you have like more like I guess it's like a circular shape in the middle. This part, it's called the kneecap, right here. Now that cap is like a rounded bone shape over here in the middle. Okay, and then you have the muscles ending connected to it, like wrapping around it and goes down. So sometimes I treat this guy more like a long shaft, a long some shape like this, right? Because you have connections to it. Okay, and because it bends, sometimes you will have a wrinkle around it sometimes, so I just draw some random stroke on it just to try to mimic that. Okay, and that should be much more visible than other muscle parts. Okay, and on the side, oftentimes I can use edge polish to polish it a little bit, just to give it some sharpness, to make it look like it's a bone structure over there. Okay, and then you want it to be able to end somewhere down here, right? So give it a ending at the bottom, and then you just have two curves or arcs around it, wrapping around it. That's the muscle from the back, and from, of course, this one I was talking about earlier, that they're wrapping around the knee. Okay, now you kind of want it to tweak their shape after you block those guys out. So I'm thinking maybe that's going out too much, so smooth that out. Okay, and trying to figure out how this contour looks like. Okay. The leg may appears to be bending this way and then that way, right? this kind of like contour, so that you can maybe make that more visible. Sometimes I feel that makes the model looks more organic looking, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's depending on if you're standing still or you're having other poses, whatever. But yeah, let me try to just enhance some of the details I see from my reference. Again, the lower leg, I tend to make it visibly thinner than the upper leg, so that's what I'm trying to do right now. Okay. And you have this more like a edge here in the front that is arcing this way. And you have the connection to the foot. We can deal with the foot later on. Okay, because we're gonna have shoes on it, I'm not gonna do the toes and everything just to save time. Oftentimes I don't really do toe that much because you know, they are having shoes. So this is gonna be a good practice if you want to practice that structure. But you know, I just don't bother sometimes. Anyway. So let's see, I can just use my move brush a little bit more to refine the arc of the leg. Smooth that in. I'm trying to figure out this contour here on the inside. Okay, and the outer contour, right? Figure out the differences. It's always like this. You have, if I can use my freehand, you can see you have a much more dramatic change here. On the inside, you have a bigger budge, higher budge, but not as long. So the outside is more smooth. Okay. Same thing goes to the bottom. Right. Okay, let's go to the side view and let's see if we can take some more. Can give the leg a little bit more volume in the front. Generally speaking, you have the leg sticking out this way, just like how the breasts are pointing sideways. It's not only going forward, but it's going forward on the outside more and not as much as the inside. Sometimes I can even say it's gonna be, if you use planar shape to represent it, it's like this kind of like shape. Okay, so it's bulging out on the side. It's not going out that much here in the middle. Okay, but of course there are arced shapes, so you don't want it to make it that flat. Okay. Now you also have muscle going from the top edge of the pelvis and connect to the bone on the leg. Okay, so you can have a little bit of that here, this structure. Okay. Now moving on to this side, you can also have that muscle going down. And this is the dipping in part. You have muscle going from all sorts of directions. You have muscles going down this way and going down this way, muscle growing this way, right? So all those things are wrapping around that particular point. That's actually where the bone is, the outside of the bone. So that part is called the greater trochanter, right? Something like this. Over here, that's the outer branch of the thigh bone. Okay, the bone of the thigh. Okay. And then you have the muscle from the butt, of course. Okay. Let me smooth these guys out and plug in a little bit more volume over here too. It'll be wise to again look at your reference and see what's going on over there. Alright, so that's pretty much the front and the top of the back. Moving down here, the back, I don't see a lot of variations. But here, what we can enhance here though is going to be somewhere here we can make this part a little bit more visible, the bending area. Okay, but the human body is nice and smooth, right? So don't try to carving a lot of muscles. You know that the muscles separate into two pieces of here, right? This and that. But do you really make those that visible? Because that's gonna look quite weird when you really show those, because they are there, but they are also covered by the skin on the outside. You can just indicate a little bit knowledge of the hair, but you don't really have to make those guys that visible. Okay, let me also carve in two lines to make the end of the muscle more visible. Here, you can often see that you have a really sharp ending here, right at the bottom. Alright, so from the front we can also try to plug in a little bit more volume here, muscle strength over here on the side of the leg. Okay, you can again look at your reference or your anatomy book and see what I'm doing here, right? But oftentimes I just don't bother making them super visible. Just a little bit of indication, okay, there is a muscle there, and you blend it out with the surrounding structures so that they come as a whole leg instead of separate pieces trying to fit together with each other, but oftentimes doesn't really fit because you make them too strong, too competitive. Okay, anyway, so let me just plug in a little bit more stuff on the knees, give it a little bit more detail. Okay. Also the surroundings, try to make those more visible too. You can gradually enhance some of the volumes just to make them a little bit more visible. Okay, but still at any stage try to, you know, zoom out and see, okay, am I getting the correct figure proportion yet, right? If those are wrong, then there's no need trying to say, okay, I need more detail here or there, right? There's no need to do that. Okay. Alright, now zoom out, let's take a look. When I look at it now, I think maybe I'm making this shape going towards this direction too much. Kind of want it to be arcing back more, so let me drag these guys back in. Okay. Alright, and then I can just slightly enhance the contour of the leg more. Okay, so trying to refine the shape. The hard part of the leg is trying to manage all those variations you see. So you can spend a lot of time on this part trying to use your move brush to refine the contour all the time. Okay. Right. So a lot of back and forth tweaking on those parts until you're happy with these guys. Okay, so oftentimes you have the butt smaller actually on the back looking, you know, compared to the front. Okay, so this is like it's going inwards. If you draw a line here, a contour here, you can see it's getting smaller on the back, it's bigger in the front. Okay. But I think I can make it just a little bit wider. All right. So in the next video, let's actually go ahead and block out everything. Right, we have the legs now. Let's do maybe the arms or maybe the foot. But moving on next, we're going to keep advancing with more stuff, and we can tweak them all together eventually when we're done with everything. Okay, see you next time.